It's Chris, host of The Heart of the Story. Welcome to the show. Got another guest in the building. Special guest. His name is Derek Price. He owns a company called 4XF Club Faction. Derek Price, thanks for coming on, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Chris. Appreciate you.
Man, it is so good. Ever since I've met you, I've just found myself always looking for ways to improve every single day.
I bring a lot of friends.
Because you're always in like dropping nuggets of gold every time I'm around you.
I appreciate that, man. Like, I guess if you're going to go coach, that's like one of the qualities that you want to have, right? Like,
yeah,
you know, Johnny Appleseed, you better be throwing it out there, or else it's just not authentic. So
he's the coach's coach.
You know, it's kind of how we got to this. You know, like I've been doing this kind of thing for so long that somebody's like, well, why don't you just actually like turn into actual coaching?
Yeah,
where we're at.
So let's start with the beginning, and then you were bringing up some stuff about culture, and there's lots of different things we could go down roads. But let's begin with your early life.
Sure.
Born and raised.
So born and raised right here. Like I'm one of the few natives. Went to Marcos Niza High School. Grew up in Tempe. From kindergarten up from there. And wanted to stay in Arizona and play football. Like that was kind of my path. And Arizona State would not take me. Like I did everything I could to try to go there. I had scholarships all over the country, but not at ASU. So I had to leave my backyard. But the greatest thing that happened before I left was I met, which is still my wife now, Heather. So we met right out of high school on a blind date. And I went to Iowa. She went to ASU. And then, you know, I went to Detroit after that. And she was a Cardinals cheerleader. So the assumption is people are like, oh, you met her when you were in the NFL. I'm like, no, we both met out of high school and made our own way there independently each.
Did she go to high school here?
She went to Gilbert. So she's another native.
Really?
Yeah,
so
both our families are here. Like we're old school Arizona.
What was her maiden name?
Rogers.
Rogers,
yeah,
okay.
So her dad was a teacher for like 30 years at Gilbert High School, and her family's been here for forever.
Wow, that's amazing. So
yeah,
both Arizona natives. She was a cheerleader?
Yeah, so she actually, if you remember a movie like Jerry Maguire, like you can remember back that far, the Tom Cruise movie?
Yeah.
So she's she's in that movie. She's an NFL cheerleader. She's a Cardinals cheerleader. And they actually used her picture like on the cover of, do you remember when we would still buy the DVDs to watch movies and not just stream them? Mm-hmm. So we have like a bunch of those covers at our house and posters. And I'm always like, yeah, my wife was in a movie with Tom Cruise. And she was like, well, like I was in the same scene with him for about 4 seconds. But it wasn't in his movie.
How did she get into that?
So she's a dancer. So I have 3 daughters.
Are they all dancers too?
No, two of them are like super rough and tumble, and one of them is an Uber dancer that's at state competition at the state fair grounds today. I'm not there because I'm here, but it's prelims, and then they'll make it to the finals, and I'll go see finals tonight, and I'll go do that. But I have, of my 3 daughters, my oldest is now 23, and at 18, she got hired on as the youngest female firefighter ever in the history of Arizona.
Your daughter's a firefighter?
She was. She already changed careers. She did that for 4 years.
Really?
And during that time, she was like, hey, Dad, I'm really into animals, which she's had horses her whole life and is like never a stray cat spent the night in the cold if it came across my daughter.
Really?
Like, super not great for me.
Big animal lover.
Huge animal lover. And while she was in fire, she was witnessing, like, when houses are burning down, if the pets are on fire or something, you just leave them off to the side. Don't do anything about it. Or when they come across accidents, you got to take care of the humans. The pets just, whatever happens, happens. So her fire chief at the time was pretty innovative and was like, well, let's figure out a program. Let's get you doing some school, like on the vet medicine side. And then when we respond, you can help out there. And so as she was going down that route, she's like, I really like this. So she became a vet nurse. And then took her vet nurse resume to a vet emergency room here in Gilbert, like a really big, nice one. And said, why don't we institute an emergency department and let's make an ambulance that goes out and gets pets that need immediate emergency room services.
Yeah.
And they're like, we don't know anybody that can drive an ambulance. And she's like, here's my credential, EMT firefighter. And boom. They doubled her salary and brought her over, and now she's probably the youngest hospital administrator in the vet space, right?
Dang.
So that's Kylie, and then Haley, my middle daughter. She just turned 21, and she graduated. Very proud of U of A, University of Arizona, about a month ago. Mm-hmm. And we're trying to slow her down. She wants to go right in to get her master's, and I'm trying to explain to her, like, the world doesn't want a 22-year-old master's degree marriage and family counselor. Like, who are you going to counsel? What are you doing? So I'm doing the, hey,
like, get some life experience.
Go to Barcelona, learn Spanish. Like, go live on the beach for a year. Like, you've been on the grind for forever. And so right now she's kind of like just slowing down her life a little bit. And it's good to see. And then the youngest one is the daughter. To get all the way back to the Heather's question is, so my wife came up being a dancer. Like, she was company dancer and ballet and jazz and competitive, and then the high school was a cheerleader in Palmy, and then to college was a cheerleader, and then cheerleader for the Arizona Cardinals. Mm-hmm. So that's how she kind of transitioned.
High achieving family all along.
And so my daughter kind of is following that dance path. And
how old are your kids again? What's the age spread?
23, 21, and 17. And so, like, right now we just chase the 17-year-old all over the world.
23, 21, and 17.
Yeah, we had two, and it was like perfectly planned, like exactly 2 years apart. We had a family of four. It means we can go to Disneyland and everybody's taken care of, right? Mm-hmm. And then, like, my wife's like, I'm pregnant. And I'm like, well, what'd you do wrong? And then along came our last one. So, and it's been like, the joy and the bundle, and it's amazing, right? Like,
everything went right.
Everything went right. So we got lucky.
That's amazing, man. Yeah. That's amazing. And so you went and played football at Iowa, which is very far away from Arizona.
And that's kind of why I went there, right? That's what, it's just different. So I think knowing without knowing, and the reality was, like, Iowa's a huge program, right? It's Big Ten football.
Yeah.
When they take you out there on a recruiting trip, at least back then, it was like you might have seen in the movies. Like, it was the limo, it was the stadium, it was the lights, it was the cheerleaders.
This is early 90s, mid-90s?
This was 93? 93, so yeah. Before
93.
cell phones. Before cameras, right? It's a different world, different life altogether. And, I had won a bunch of honors, and I was highly recruited and kind of had my choice of anywhere I wanted to go. And I had all my trips lined up. I was going to go to Florida State and Nebraska and Stanford, but Iowa was first on the list. And I went and did the Iowa trip, and Hayden Fry is the head coach at the time, and he's just the consummate salesman. He's just really good at what he does. Mm-hmm. So they keep you out all night on a Saturday. They bring you in on like a Friday, hang out, show you the program, this and that. Put you with somebody on a Saturday that keeps you up like literally all night, making you think that, like,
there's like a guy on the team.
Like you are the rock star, right? It's all about you.
Yeah.
Like, everywhere you go, they're like anticipating you. It's a whole song and dance. And then you get back to go to bed at like maybe 4 a.m.
Yeah.
And at like 7 a.m, Hayden Fry's like has me scheduled to meet with him. So you're like, I'm not even awake. I don't know what's happening. And you're like on an 8 o'clock flight out. And he's like, hey, we're going to bring in a couple other guys at your position, and that scholarship's open to you right now. But if you leave without like a hard commitment, then we're going to take a look at these other guys coming in. So what are we going to do? And I was like, I love this place. I'm coming here.
They do that intentionally.
Oh, absolutely. And
100%.
then, and this was back when like you're like a handshake and like your word mattered, right? I don't think kids, like the whole, I see people commit and then decommit and commit and decommit and commit and decommit.
Oh, all the time.
But back then it was like if you committed, like decommitting was like big black stain on you. So I committed to it, and I went to Iowa, and it was a great experience, man. I loved it. It led me from there to go play for Detroit. So
which is also a Midwest area, so you kind of just stayed in the Midwest.
Yeah, I really didn't get to pick that one though. They kind of select you. So I was lucky to be there, and had a great training camp, and scored a touchdown, and had a bunch of catches, and was on the field at the right time in front of the right people, and they were like, yeah, let's keep this kid. And then I played in every game after that until I broke my neck. And then they were like, you don't do this job anymore, go do something else.
How was it being in like that snow environment after growing up in Arizona?
I'm not built for snow.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not built for snow. And I don't even care where you're from, and you're like, well, it's a dry snow, or it's a wet snow, or it's a heavy snow. Look, if it's cold enough for water to freeze, I'm just not built for it. I can tolerate it.
Yeah.
And I have done a lot of cold stuff, but Iowa was challenging.
Yeah.
Not seeing the sun for like 6 months. It's like, well, it's October. The sun doesn't come back until like April. And you're like, I don't understand that. And they're like, you'll see. And it's just like haze gray, like the whole time. And then when I went to Detroit, same thing. It's like just haze gray and dark. But when you're playing football like that, and you're in season. I only lived in Detroit during the season. Then come back to Arizona off season. You're so caught up in like the breakfast is at like 7 a.m. every day, and then it's like film and then training and then rehab and then weightlifting and then film and then you're on the field and then it's lunch and then you're back on the field and then it's practice and then it's more film and it's like schedule. 10 o'clock at night.
Yeah.
So you're like, people are like, well, what'd you like to do in Detroit? I was like, my apartment, the commute to the stadium, my apartment. Like, you don't really, in the off season, I'm sure you see everything, but in the season, like, there's just no time for it.
Yeah, that's athlete schedule. Like,
athlete schedule.
Been around a lot of athletes. Used to work with a lot of athletes at the pro level, and you think it's all fun and stuff. It's like, not really. It's a lot of just sticking to a routine. If you want to actually stay in the league. If you don't want to stay in the league, then
there's just a million guys that could take your job. I mean, here's the reality to it: is like 10% of like pro athletes are what I call like they're like God touched. Like, they could work out or not work out, they're just gonna be better than you.
Yeah.
Like Usain Bolt could not run. Could not train that hard. He's just going to be faster than everybody else on the planet.
Yeah.
Just what it is. Barry Sanders, I had a locker next to him. I know him very, very well. He's just born to do that job at a level that you could train your whole life and you're not going to achieve, or people would, right? But the other 90% of us are replaceable. Like I may have made Detroit's roster. There was probably legitimately 300 other guys in the country that didn't make an NFL roster that probably could have done about what I did, like plus or minus a percent or two.
Yeah.
So it's timing and luck in a lot of aspects.
I think that's a big reason why. You look at guys like NBA or NFL or whatever it is. Like, it's why guys like Kobe or Steph Curry get the popularity that they get with the fans, because Kobe wasn't as athletic as Michael Jordan or LeBron, didn't have the same physical skill of those guys. Like, Michael's had hands that were known to be massive. Kobe didn't have. Steph Curry is known to be 6'3" and skinny as hell. But yet they're able to still compete against these guys. And so you look at them and you're like, I know they busted their ass to...
They're just different. They're just made different. And like, even the pros see it. Like, I remember, we'd be at practice, in our own practice at Detroit, a closed practice, and like Barry would do things, or Herman Moore, an all-pro receiver, would do things, and we'd just be like, I don't even know what just happened. Like, it defied physics. That was amazing, we get impressed. I'm at the pro level. I shouldn't be impressed. I'm on that team playing that game. There's my teammates, and I'm like, we're not the same caliber. There's difference.
Who's the best player you ever played against, or who's the best player you ever played with?
Well, to not say Barry Sanders would be silly, right?
The best you probably played with.
But yeah, against Reggie White was probably the most iconic. Because he's listed as like potentially one of the greatest defensive players of all time. He's at least in that conversation. And the first game that I started, I had the amazing opportunity as a rookie tight end to go against him for the entire game. And like, I'm an undersized tight end for the NFL. 6'3", 260 pounds at the time. Like, today's tight ends are about right, but back then they used to ask us to block. And now these guys run around and catch touchdowns, which is awesome. And I remember, like, literally the very first play of the very first game that I started, you can imagine, like, how nervous I am, right? We go out on the field, and we're standing in the huddle, and the very first play is a run play where basically it's coming right to me. And I'm supposed to block Reggie White, the greatest defensive player of all time. He's about 330 pounds, and push him out of the way so that Barry Sanders can run by. And it's funny because we watched this on tape. You can see us huddle, and you can see Scott Mitchell call the play, and you can see my head look up at the press box where our offensive coordinator was. And I was thinking to myself, why would you call this play? Like, you're putting your rookie, like, this is terrible for me. this is how we're going to start this thing? It's like, all right, man, we're going to get you amateur fight. Your first fight's Tyson. Like, you're like, what? Time out. And I remember Barry Sanders, this is such a crucial leadership moment. And this is what makes him so good, is wasn't just what he could do on the field, but how his mind worked. Like, we break the huddle, and all of this is happening in like seconds, right? Like, my story is 10 times longer than the reality of what happened. And he grabs my jersey before we break the huddle, and he goes, hey, man, let's just get in front of him. And like, I went from like a 10 out of 10 stress factor to like, oh, you just want me to get in front of him? Well, I can do that. And that little psych trick, like, boom, I get in front of him, and I feel him go off my back, and he runs for like 10 yards. And I'm like, how about that? I didn't push Reggie anywhere, so let's be super honest with it. But just the calm demeanor of such a high-level person being able to not just know what his job was and think about it, but think about this. Like, in the moment, he witnessed, oh, my young teammate, my young tight end over here is like having a little stress moment. Let me calm this down as I'm going to get ready to take the ball.
It's emotional intelligence.
Yeah, man, just get in front of him. Just as cool as that. Just get in front of him.
Yeah.
Just as if it was like, hey, Chris, can you pick that up for me real quick? Like, just, that was it.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And I've actually been privy to see that type of an interaction, emotional intelligence, you call it, a couple of times in my life. And like, those are some of the most impactful lessons that I've ever learned that I've carried forward in like leadership and all kinds of other things.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, that was my introduction into, you know, the greatest defensive player I ever played against.
Yeah. How often in life is it where it's like you make up something in your head about a scenario or an opportunity or a person or place or thing or whatever it is? The mind controls you and turns this into something that could mentally break you down. But just a quick switch of switching how you view it completely calms you down and changes it.
Absolutely. Like you know, so I was a CEO of multiple different mental health hospitals. And so what is mental health? It's not the loony bin. It's not straight jackets and padded cells. These are voluntary residential. It's, you know, some people come in with substance abuse, alcohol, drugs, addiction, and some people come in with more mood and trauma, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideations, PTSD, etc. Yeah. Anxiety is what you're talking about, and anxiety is like a fear of what could happen. And so I spent a lot of time around those type of counselors and those type of providers and psychiatrists, psychologists, really trying to understand that, because that is very much a human condition. Like, we are programmed to inherently think of, like, if there's something coming up, how could it go wrong? Like, that's usually where we start our thoughts with. And then left unchecked, and if we don't address that and reroute intentionally our brain, that how can it go wrong starts to build. It builds up momentum. And by the end, you're in a cycle of like, the whole world's going to come to an end in this particular scenario. And we know that doesn't happen, because everybody even listening to this and us in conversation right now, you're going to say, man, there was a million times where I felt that way, but then when I actually got to that point in time, oh, it wasn't that bad. Yeah, it actually ended up pretty good, as a matter of fact. So then I asked the question, like, in humanity, what is it that doesn't condition us to say, if I don't know, because anxiety is the fear of the unknown, or the unknowingness, right?
It's living in the future rather than the present.
Since we can't predict the future, because if you and I could, let's just go knock out the lottery numbers right now, cancel the podcast and move to Costa Rica. Let's do that. But since nobody's able to do that right now, or go back in time, which is a whole depression thing, it's like anxiety forward, depression backwards. Why is it that we do have this mindset of everything could be going wrong, and then we build on that and we allow our brain to just spin, and we call it that monkey mind? And it's like, I envision it like a wolf. It's called, what wolf are you feeding? And that wolf lives there, and every time you have that thought, he eats it and gets a little bigger, eats it and gets a little bit bigger. And by the time, like, you get down the road, like, you're super stressed out about something. And then the thing shows up, and you're like, it's not a big deal. But I wonder why it is that we don't have the other way around and feed that wolf inherently on, like, I don't know what's going to happen. So since we're all playing pretend, why don't I put some positive into it and say, this could be the greatest thing that ever happened. I'm probably going to learn a lot. I can't wait to get to this. This is going to be amazing. And another way to look at that is we inherently are scared of the dark as humans. We're scared of what's under our bed when we can't see it. We're scared of what's in our closet when we can't see it, which goes back to the fear of the unknown. And maybe that's our DNA from living in caves and saying, if I can't see it, it might kill me. You know what I mean? Like the boogeyman's behind every counter. And I think that bleeds over into our culture. And while the survival instinct is never going to go away, this is how we're wired, I do think that happy people see it, address it, understand it, and take action to say, hey, my brain is kind of DNA programmed to kind of stress out over the potentiality of something I don't know the future towards. But if I've been working on breath, that seems to get me in a flow state of like wiping the slate clean, which allows me then to put the backfill with positive energy, and I feed that wolf of like, this could be good. I'm excited for this to happen. This is going to work out. And then I walk around and I'm happy. And some people are like, well, that's just fake. I'm like, it's just as fake as being stressed about something you don't know. But why is that not just how we naturally breathe? Why is that not how we actually work to build our semiconductors? I don't know. I think that maybe there's more money in selling you fear, and our whole society is conditioned around fear versus hope.
I mean, we can go down some roads with this one because I've got a lot of theories.
Two-parter here now.
This is going to be probably multiple parts because I got a lot of thoughts and feelings and emotions myself on this one, and we can go back to touching on more of your life the next stage, but I love just letting the conversation go where it goes, because I have a belief of what's said on the show is what needs to be said on the show. I have a common belief with that. I mean, my personal take is there's a couple things to unravel. One, we have to identify that there is an adversary. The same way that there is a creator of the universe, there's also an adversary in the universe. That adversary wants to keep you away from the creator and his goodness, which is authenticity, love, and freedom. So he wants to counter that with guilt, shame, and mental slavery. Also having to identify the fact that the whole purpose of agency is the journey of actually having to go seek. So why are you built in a condition where you actually have to go seek and figure things out? That's the whole purpose and point of agency, right? So it's like if you didn't, and you know this from years of knowledge and learning in pro sports and whatnot. I mean, how much more do you actually understand something or appreciate something when you actually had to go figure it out, rather than it was just given to you? How much?
10x. I mean, listen, I can tell you. I can tell you what a rose smells like, but until you smell it, you don't know. I can tell you what chocolate cake tastes like. I can try and use descriptive words, but until you taste it, you don't know. Like, I can tell you, don't touch that stove, but what's the greatest teacher on planet Earth? Pain. Pain is like, I tried this, boop, don't do that again. You don't ever, ever, ever have to tell me don't touch red hot metal anymore. Yeah. You never have to give me that information because I experienced it.
Because you learned it yourself, right? And it's the same thing. I mean, you even see this with kids. It's like, if I go send a kid to college and just tell them that everything's paid for, it doesn't matter what you do, it's just paid for, versus the kid who actually has to go work for it and learn the challenges of like, if I don't get a good grade, I don't, I lose my scholarship, or I got to go work a job to go pay for that tuition. Which kid's going to come out of that college experience with more life understanding, more appreciation of the degree, etc.?
It's obvious. I think everybody listening to this, if we said, hey man, you have to stack all of your chips, have identical twins. I paid for one school and took care of everything for him. He graduated. Yeah. This one I did nothing. He had to figure the whole thing out on his own. He graduated. Yeah. Stack your chips on who's more likely to be successful.
Yeah. 100%. And that's why I say with this, it's like
we're all going one way.
God built all of us on an even playing ground from the beginning, with the intent that all of us have to go down the journey of learning and coming to Him. We all have to learn. We're all pre-built and come into this earth mouth breathing. We have to learn to breathe through the nose. It's something we have to learn so then we can appreciate and understand it. Because if it was just that was the default, then it wouldn't mean as much.
Yeah, for sure. Like I think I'm going to write a book, which is probably part of our next podcast about about experiences that have to your point, we are a container, right? A container has a capacity to it, and when we experience things, we grow our capacity, right?
Mm-hmm.
And we can handle more, and that's what makes the difference between adults and teenagers and children. So we can handle more.
Yeah.
But man, wouldn't it be great, like, if I can go back and say, like, hey, this next time around or this time around, like, can I just start off like uber wealthy, and I don't even need to grow at all? Like, I'll just sit on the beach and be that kid that does that. Like, that'd be a nice starting point. But no, there's a lot of silver linings. Like, I grew up without a dad. My dad died when I was 7. I was the oldest kid in the house. He died of brain cancer. My mom was a school teacher. You know, it was like, my mom's a superhuman. Like, I still can't run the math and see how any of it worked. Mm-hmm. Like, how did we have food in the house and the heater on and birthday presents with 3 boys and her salary and paying mortgages and everything else? Like, doesn't make sense. I don't know how she did it.
And you were all big boys, I'm assuming. They ate a lot.
My brother was like 5A player of the year coming out of here in Arizona. He was on full ride scholarship too. We're both like big human beings. And my middle brother, Sean, went down a different path. He was a runner, got different genetics, a little bit smaller, but yeah. And then, of course, I bring the whole posse over to the house, and it wasn't even cognizant about the fact that when I bring 10 of my friends over and we just clean out the whole refrigerator, there's a cost to that, right?
Of course, you don't realize that as a kid.
You don't realize it as a kid. If it's a magic food fairy just shows up and food appears and my laundry's done and everything's great, but I think for me, Chris, early on, is learning how to achieve was because, like, I remember my first job was I was in the 3rd grade, you know, and I had a paper route, and that was 7 days a week, 365 days a year, and it was 4:30 in the morning. My alarm went off. Rain, sleet, snow.
3rd grade.
Snow. 3rd grade. I had to go fold about 200 papers, rubber band them, put them in those bags. Like, you don't see this anymore. But, like, what makes us so much tougher than the kids today? Dude, I was on a beach cruiser with 200 newspapers hanging from, like, bags on my handlebars, trying to ride down the road alone at, like, 4 in the morning and just slinging them towards houses, right?
Yeah.
And then, if you remember this, on the paper route, I had to go collect the money from adults. In the 3rd grade, I'm like, you owe me for your newspaper. And they're like, get out of here, kid. I'm like, it's like that movie, John Cusack's like, where's my $2? Like, give me my $2. So I learned that early on, and I had to do that so that we could chip in. You know, because there was that conversation early in my life when I was being kind of a baby, and I was like, why can't we, turn the heater on? This is ridiculous. I'm freezing. It's the winter. My mom's like, well, do you want, like, a Christmas present or do you want heat? Like, which you pick? And that's when I was probably, like, close to high school age, and that's when I was like, oh, we really don't have money. Like, what? Heat or a present, kind of like, I still remember like that.
You start to realize what money is, too.
I didn't even know what money was at that point in time, right? And we were very sheltered from it, and I don't want to paint the picture. I grew up in poverty or anything, because I didn't, but I grew up different than my kids grew up in Gilbert now, very much so. And sometimes, my wife and I look at that, and I'm like, are we doing it right? Because you ask your kids, like, hey, what do you want for Christmas? And they kind of give you that, I don't know, like, what is there? What else should I get? And you're like,
they already have everything.
I've done it wrong, So, different life experiences. But they have their own struggles. We didn't have Instagram. We didn't have social proofing. We didn't have stress like they have now either. Like, my circle was whoever I can call on my phone, reaching from the kitchen through a long cord, or met him at the Burger King on a Friday night.
It's different struggles. It's different stresses. It's not one's better or worse than the other. There's still fundamental truths that still are being taught to the current generation that were being taught in the last generation. Big things I'm seeing. The problem, though, I'm seeing is that there are parents, and I'm guilty of this myself, and I'm working on this every single day. I've got a 2-year-old. It's the concept of no one's going to come save you, and there's no such thing as a perfect person. You know what I mean? Like, learning that at an early age really helps shape you. How have you kind of created mental toughness for your kids growing up, because they didn't have to have the same struggles.
And I think they tell you how excited they are about this, but I have always been in the pursuit of physical challenge. And that may have started with the whole chip on my shoulder, let me prove myself, I don't have a dad, and we're at the football things.
That's your childhood wounds.
Childhood wounds, I'm always trying to, like, show out for everybody, right? And I realized early in life, early in life in high school, like, hey, if I want to go to college, like, there's nobody's coming to save me. There's no money.
Mm-hmm.
And but there's a path forward if I work really, really hard in sport.
Mm-hmm.
So then I learned two things. I had coaches that actually built me a plan, and I did that plan, and that plan resulted in a scholarship. And then I did that plan, and it resulted in a higher scholarship. And I did that plan, and it took me to NFL. And then I found somebody, and I did that plan, it took me to med school. And I did that plan, I opened clinics. And I did that plan, and I vertically integrated to a lot of clinics. And so that's been a model of success for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so with my kids, it's very much the same. Like, I had very simple rules for all of my kids, and they still exist to this day. I only have one at home anymore. But if you live in the house, you either have a job, play sports, or play an instrument, and you're in school. Like, that's outside of that, I don't care. I don't care what the sport is, or the instrument, or the job. But what we don't have is just random idle time. There's free time, obviously, to clear your head and do this and that. But so my daughters, both of them, the two older ones were both swim captains, varsity swimmers. My middle one got water polo scholarship for college. My older one went into rodeo and broke horses. Became the fireman. And my daughter at Highland right now, she's a junior, and she already has 3 state rings. Like,
which sport?
In cheer, pom, and dance. She's been all over the planet, winning competitions for dance since she was literally since she was in the 3rd grade.
Mm-hmm.
Matter of fact, like I said, she's competing in state competition today.
Yeah.
And then we fly to Florida for nationals in 2 weeks.
There you go.
And I mean, the funny thing is, you go look at, it's still a 6A sport. Pom is a 6A sport. I didn't know that. You look, if the football team wins state, the whole world knows about it. Highlands Pom has won state the last 3 years in a row. They have rings. And I'm like, nobody covers it. Nobody knows. And I'm like, my daughter's one of the most decorated athletes in Arizona in the high school level right now. 3-time state champion.
Why don't people know about it?
I don't know.
That's pretty badass.
It is. I think it's because, we could go down the whole women's sport thing, which I have all daughters, so I'm super pro. I grew up with a mom, super pro women in sports. But it's because the crowds aren't as big, right? And that's just the facts, and that is what it is. When you go to a university, those programs, the other programs exist mostly because the football program does.
Yeah.
And the football program, pick a big school. You have 100,000 people filling those seats. Every game.
You were in the Big Ten. You witnessed it.
I'm witnessing
the
it.
Big house at Michigan.
Go to Michigan, 104,000. You go to Ohio State, 100,000. Go to Penn State, 100,000.
Yeah.
You play an SEC team, 100,000. Those tickets aren't free.
That's what pays for the school.
We had bigger crowds in college at that level than we had in the NFL.
Yeah, because I'm going to say I think those college arenas are almost twice the size.
I mean, it's just different, and granted, I was on Detroit when, I was in that slump of no playoffs and no anything, but what a great time to be a Detroit fan right now, though.
No, they're about to get stomped out by my Rams, though.
That's silly, but
I'm a Rams guy.
It's still the paradox of the quarterback flip is interesting.
It's still fascinating to this day, exactly, because Stafford and Goff, all they really did was just switch.
They were like, did you? And a couple new head coaches, and because I think the Rams are great.
Dan Campbell's amazing, though. I got to give him that. He's one of the best coaches, I think.
If you could pick a team right now and say you get one head coach, I'm probably pulling Dan Campbell right now.
Seriously, I mean, you have to.
But what does he do different? I'm going to turn it on you because I have my own theory here. And so what does Dan Campbell do different with a group of people that have been there for that amount of years? Detroit has had Barry Sanders, Herman Moore, Brett Perryman, Johnny Morton, Megaton. They've had amazing, Goff was there. They've had amazing athletes.
Amazing athletes, yeah.
Right?
Megatron was this beast.
Super beast. Why all the losing? And then you change the head coach, are the plays better? Are the offense better? At that level, it's all really the same stuff. This type of offense, that type of offense, this type of defense, that type of defense, it's really the same. And the players are so interchangeable that it's not like in college where you used to go and you were there, everybody on the collegiate team was there for 4 or 5 years. You have players come in the NFL, you're on a team for a year, 2 years, in, out, the other.
I know what you mean. I look at, objectively, I even think, what's his name? Amon Saint or whatever,
Yeah.
Saint Amon, whatever. He's not as good as Megatron. He's not as good.
1/10 his size.
Like
He's
Megatron,
bigger than me.
Megatron was
huge.
like 6'5",
Yes.
200 something pounds. So it's like, as a wide receiver, that's freaking
He
massive.
was a tight end at wide receiver.
It's like, what's your standard size for a DB?
6'2", 6'1". Well, not even 6'2". I'd say 6'1", 195 pounds.
You're not keeping up with that guy out wide out,
He's boxing him out.
So-
And he's jumping higher than you, and he's faster than you.
But why is it that now they're winning now versus then? I mean, my opinion is just it's the difference between sheet connections and transactional relationships.
You're right.
When you have transactional relationships, you feel the difference in the energy, and you feel the difference in this person actually cares about me.
Mm-hmm.
And I look at Dan Campbell as a guy who embodies sheet connections,
Mm-hmm.
and you can tell every single person in that locker room is not just a data or a name on a board. That's an actual living, breathing human being that he cares about. And I bet you every single one of those players would probably say the same thing. Coach Campbell loves me
And knows me.
and knows me.
And doesn't use me as a tool, but but interacts with me as a human, right?
You play better, you know?
So I think what you just talked about was their state of readiness, which is culture.
Yeah.
And so we talk about culture all the time, and the byproduct of my coaching at the business level is to reestablish, reaffirm, and make trainable and actionable a culture.
Yeah.
And the crap side of culture is in 99% of facilities, organizations, or whatever. Culture is a bunch of cool lexicon wordsmith that's on a wall, but it's a decoration. But if I were to watch and audit Dan Campbell, and nobody could tell me what he was about, honor, integrity, respect, take all the words away. Let me just watch Silent Movie. What would I write down about him? I would write down exactly what it is that his team is doing. Right? That's the reality. When all the cameras are off, when nobody's watching, like, what are you doing? That's your culture. And what he's done is he's given that team that offensive mindset where they believe that they're going to do things. They look into the future with success. They've changed the algorithm. They're seeing things forward, like I'm being proactive. They're going, like, there's stories of these guys going to workouts and starting their workouts before their scheduled workout because they're taking the initiative to get better on their own, and it started with their head coach. And then the mental resilience, you see what happens when they lose a game, when they're down in the third quarter, like, their tents don't fold. And if you go back last season or the season before, you see that they were losing games at the end by like a point, by single score. And then they got past that, but they had to grow through that and learn as a culture to have that mental resistance or mental resilience. And then Dan Campbell's special magic of, these are my values, and I'm going to tear my chest open and make them real to you, not transactionally, which would be on a wall, memorize that, tell people this is what we're about, but I want you to feel it and embody it and live it. You put those three things together and you have your physical state of readiness. You have your actual livable, breathable culture. And in my opinion, that is why the Lions are so successful right now. Is Dan Campbell came into that organization, and if you think you change culture overnight, it's a lie.
No.
You've been in business. I've been in business a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
How much money have we all wasted going to a weekend seminar where everybody gets super hyped? Or reading a book or listening to a podcast and being like, that's it. I just learned everything I need to know. And you write it down, you highlight it, and like 2 weeks later, like, you don't remember it. It's just words.
Well, I wasted thousands of dollars joining networking groups that actually sucked energy out of me instead of instilling energy in me. I mean, and to your point, what you're speaking on, you see the difference of how Jared Goff plays now versus when he was on the Rams. And it's like he objectively had better targets on the Rams, versus who he has now. But yet you're seeing a much, higher performance level from him. And to your point, I mean, you see that in all kinds of organizations, whether it be business or even, like household. There's in the religious perspectives, in the LDS Church, they always say that this line of like, you will know them by their fruits, right? I know whether or not someone's a good parent because I look at their kids. I don't have to even know them. I can just look at their kids.
Exactly.
I know if it's a good boss because I just see how the employees are. I can see. I don't even have to know it's Dan Campbell. I just see the difference between how Jared Goff is out there, like how he carries himself in the pocket now versus how he was in the Rams.
I think your point was spot on because like I've heard interviews between those two, and they've asked, Jared, like, well, what's the difference for you? And he goes, I'm a player. I'm on the field, but like my opinion matters. They ask me, what do you think we should do? So when you get that, and all of us as business owners, we think our ideas are brilliant. And if I give it to my staff, I already think it's brilliant. You already think it's brilliant.
Yeah.
But most of the time, our ego wants our team to say, "Oh, boss, this is brilliant. We love this." But what if? And I think this is what Dan's doing. I think this is what great leaders do. Is Dan presents the game plan and then says to Goff, "Here's a pen. Chew it up and show me where we can make it better." And he, in total sincere candor, allows Goff to come in and say, well, this won't work, and that safety is going to drop here, and I can't get to this read on time, and our team isn't ready for this, and let's use this. Let the boots on the ground have a say, because now you have that quarterback's buy-in to the game plan because they baked their ingredients into the recipe. Like, so as when you take your staff and you throw up your idea and you let them carve it up and bake their ingredients, their thoughts, their ideas, their feelings and emotions, you remove the transactional relationship and you remove that we're on a team together here. We're different parts of the boat, but we're on a team. Your opinion matters. And when you do that, people want to come together and they start to gel. They become cohesive. They can become tight. And every year we watch a championship team and we're like, well, what brought this team here? It's like, man, we just had a group of guys this year that just really bonded and did
That's what they always say.
That's what they always say.
But what
So,
does
like,
that actually mean?
wrong?
What does it actually mean, though, is there was a leader at the top that instilled confidence into that team that they didn't have previous.
That means that their culture, which is their physical state of readiness, was tight. And they put time into it. And it just doesn't happen by saying words. It happens by actions.
It's through actions, 100%. I'll see this a lot of times in the world right now where there's relationships that are unraveling every single day, whether it be family, work, friendships, whatever it may be. And you hear people always talk. As soon as the relationship unravels, it instantly turns to just people just talking crap about the other person or whatever, or people saying, "Well, I could never get them to do X, Y, Z," or it instantly turns into the negative game, the blame game, whatever it may be. But how interesting it is when you can then have another person come into that same dynamic and then get some completely different result out of that group of people or that person, when really all you had to do the whole time was just be positive and push confidence.
Sure.
And just completely change the entire culture.
Yeah, so I'll throw in a super obvious at you, but a lot of people don't think about this because you and I have both been around many people that have had struggles in their marriage. And I said, what are you doing? We went and talked to a counselor. Well, what do you do? He told us a bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. And that's kind of where it ends. And relationship falls apart. Well, let me throw this at you, and it's gonna make it super obvious. If you, Chris, right now were like, Derek, I want to get physically stronger in my physical fitness. What does that mean to you, Chris? I want to bench press more weight than I do now. Cool. Great goal. First, we got to find out what you're benching now.
Yeah.
Second, we got to make a plan. You got to go do it. But if all you did was listen to podcasts about strength building, read books about strength building, watch YouTube videos about bench pressing, after doing all of that and listening to the greatest speakers on strength and conditioning, but that's all you did. That's where it ended. How much stronger did you get?
Not much, which is where you have this.
You didn't get any stronger. You didn't do anything.
There's a generation of people who just listen to podcasts or just go to a therapist. That's it.
Exactly.
And all they have is just words to avoid that they, fancy words that they can use to avoid accountability. But you're not actually seeing the work get done.
A framework, supporter, but with information without action is garbage.
It's garbage. You can see if the person's doing the work by the actual results.
With a lot of the church stuff that I struggle with, is I'm like, hey man, you go and do do this on Sunday, and you can quote verse and verse and verse. Cool. Like, what is your plan to enact God's will today? Like, what are you doing to live like Christ today? Do you have a plan for that? And people are like, well, no. And the funny thing is that when you stack it, and let's just pick 4 big categories, family and finances and fitness and faith, right?
Yeah.
If I gave those to you right now and said prioritize them, you're going to be like God, family, and then it's either business or your fitness, one of those 2.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I would challenge you with this. Show me your fitness plan. You're going to pull it out. 5 days a week I do this, and I bench on Monday, and I squat on Tuesday. Show me your business plan. You're like, we're doing this, and here's our investments, and here's our LLC. This is cool. Show me your family plan. You're like, I don't have one. Oh, so you're just kind of reacting and winging it as it shows up. Yeah. Show me your faith plan. People are like, I don't even know what you're talking about. So I create plans for my people because I think if you want to develop and strengthen in something, information is fantastic.
Yeah.
But information without work is just vapor. It's just smoke.
There's that quote of faith without works is dead.
Without works.
It's just dead.
Yeah, and it's not a requirement. You must do these works to like obtain nirvana and get to heaven. It's like, no. I'm giving you this information so that you can go do stuff and make the world a better place.
Yeah.
Right? Like I do a very simple thing. I say every day I leave the house, and I have a lot of weird little quirks. If I leave my house, before I get back to my house, I have to make the world a better place.
Yeah.
That's a really big, bold statement.
Mm-hmm.
Let me tell you what it actually looks like. Perfect example. I was leaving the gym about a week ago,
mm-hmm.
and I had a piece of gum in my mouth the whole workout, because I always do. And as I'm driving away, I'm on the phone, I'm not thinking about it, and like a dumbass, I roll the window down and throw the gum wrapper, the gum out. And I drive about another 20 feet and realize, what did I just do? So I back up, and I spend about 20 minutes trying to find my gum and gum wrapper in the parking lot of Walmart that I was driving out of that EOS over on Greenfield. Mm-hmm. And I found it, and I found along the way about 15 other little pieces of trash I picked up. Cool. Now, did I make the world, did the whole world shift off of that movement? No. But can you imagine if everybody had that mentality and was like, I'm going to leave any situation I find a little bit better than when I got there. Mm-hmm. Okay, well now we're moving in that direction collectively. And if you don't have an actual plan, then you're not following something.
Well, you're speaking on like know your roles, to play your role, play your part. Mm-hmm. And to your point, I think big issue I see with the, religious worlds and family worlds and whatever I see is, to your point, and then I want to get there's a point I want to get to is, people will be like, I follow Jesus Christ, but then they are not forgiving people and they don't serve others. Mm-hmm. Well, you're close with your words, but not with your actions. How do you actually show that you are a follower of Jesus Christ? I will see it in how you treat other people with forgiving people and serving people. Mm-hmm. If I don't see you serving people and forgiving people, shut the freak up. I don't care what you say about I follow Jesus Christ. You're not showing it at all. Now, and then to that, and it's the same thing with all things in life. You'd be like, oh, I'm all about fitness, but yet you're, way out of shape. You're eating crap. You know what I mean? It's like, I'll know directly where you're at when I see the tangible results that come from it. To your point, though, you talk about making the world a better place. I think of it like this. God's plan is to bring the past immortality and eternal life of all mankind. Mm-hmm. And this entire life that we are on we're all on our own unique roller coasters of ride to eventually get to the point where we willingly choose to give our agency back to him and align our will and our purpose to be his purpose and will. Mm-hmm. And how do you do that? It's in your own role, your own way. For example, for me, I wake up every day these days saying, I'm going to find just one person who has a roadblock that's in their way, and I'm going to remove it. Yeah. I'll use my talents, my time, my skills, my experience. There's no such thing as bad things or good things that happen to people. It's just things that help shape you, help grow you, help turn you into who you are, so then you can go forth and bring to pass the eternal life in all of mankind. And
if you didn't have bad things, you wouldn't know what good was.
100%. And it's, well, how does removing one person's roadblock I hope with the eternal life of mankind. Well, because I removed that roadblock, they're able to inch just a little bit closer.
Yeah, man.
How are you making a big shift with making the world a better place with just picking up gum? Well, you just were an example to others, and you just cleaned up that one parking lot. If you just clean up one parking lot every single day, it compounds.
And if the people around you did the same.
If they all do the same thing, it compounds. It's by small things, great miracles happen. So I love that.
I mean, being in the medical space and running hospitals, like I have a plethora of stories where what I thought was a trivial interaction changed generations.
Generations. I love that.
Without using names, there was a very high-powered businessman, and I won't get into the treatment cycle of it, but he had significant headaches. They're angry, pissed off all the time. The kind of guy that would park his like $200,000 like G-Wagon in the handicap spot because he was that important to get into my office to get to see me.
Yeah.
And would walk past my staff and like was the guy that didn't pay, like, because he was so high level and so important.
Yeah.
So I treat him for a couple weeks, right?
Yeah.
Then we call and he stops answering. We don't see him again. Out of sight, out of mind. We bump into each other 2 years later at a Cardinals game. And he sees me, he starts crying. And I'm trying to remember who this guy is. He's like, hey, man, I've been meaning to come back and talk to you, but I've been so ashamed of the story I would have to tell you that I haven't come to talk to you about it. Now you have my interest.
Shame and guilt, there you go.
He's like, I was in so much pain for so many years that I was beating my wife and children.
Really?
And I was so angry at all the things I'd tried that nothing helped me that I disrespected you, your clinic, your practice, your staff, and all of your people.
He's operating from pain.
Because he's like, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
And somebody told me I needed to go do this, so I tried it, and my problem went away. And as such, I have made amends. I don't have the catalyst. I don't have like that pain. My family and I are great. My kids are great. You know, I have repair work to do. Like, I know that that's always going to be a thing. But it changed the whole trajectory. And then at the mental health hospitals, where suicidal ideation was commonplace, and sadly, successful completion of that wasn't uncommon either, sadly.
Yeah.
There's conversations I've had stopping in the hall and just smiling at somebody, where like a year later, somebody sends me a note and says, hey, man, you don't know me, you may not remember me, but you walked by and smiled and asked me how I was doing, and I want you to know that I was on my way to my room to go hang myself.
Damn.
And now I'm doing this and this and this and this and this, and I just want to let you know, please never lose that light. And it's those things that you do unintentionally.
Yeah.
But it's the unintentionality, it's what you do when nobody's watching defines your character.
Yes.
Like you want to know how my kids are? Don't have mom and dad sitting in the room if you're going to evaluate my kids.
Yeah.
Because they're going to be like, Mom, Dad are here, we're going to do this.
Yeah.
Don't look at a student when the main teacher's in the room. Watch the students when it's a sub. Watch the kids when they're at somebody else's house. Watch the kids when the parents aren't at home with the babysitter. Then you get an idea of who's who, right?
Exactly what I'm saying. You know them by their fruits.
You know them by their fruits.
If you have a bunch of kids and all your kids keep getting divorced over and over and over again, you can look right at the parents and say there was a problem.
Yeah, don't be pissed off at your kid that smokes because your mom and dad smoke.
Yeah, if your parents are going through smoking problems, drug problems, violent problems, divorce problems, whatever, and it's happening across the board, look in the mirror. It always starts with the mirror. Look deep down.
I work with countless business owners, and they don't want to hear the reality of it, because to be a business owner, usually alpha, and you're like, my people are procrastinators. They never get anything done. And I'm like, well, let's start with you.
Look in the mirror.
Like, let's go look at what you got on the plate. And they're like, well, I mean to get to it. I'm supposed to hard stop. Like, your team is a reflection of you.
Don't try.
Starts at the top.
Stop passing responsibility off to other people.
You bet.
You take the responsibility yourself. To that point, I'll say this: there's I think a common belief, and I think it touches something you were just saying about that dude with pain and removing it. There's a belief, I feel like, commonplace. Maybe I'm wrong, but that, some wounds can just never be healed, or that, you can't find necessarily healing, or it's just a constant cycle before you can get it healed. I actually believe that's bullshit. I think that you can be healed. It's a process, and everyone's at their own time and place of how long it's going to take.
Yeah,
for sure. But I feel like there is a path where you can find healing in things, and it starts with just identifying you have an issue, asking for forgiveness to others for that, for the pain. There's just a few steps you can start with, and putting in the work and the effort to actually go forth and go down that road. And it's powerful how that right there just eliminates so much of the pain and the problem in the first place. And I find it really interesting. You talk about how this guy goes, he's in a pain piece, and you healed his pain, and it changed how he was treating other people. And I take it personal to myself, where it was, I had a pretty gnarly dad wound that I was going through, of not feeling like I was good enough, legitimately not feeling like I was good enough, and it negatively affected how I showed up with everybody. You know what I mean? I lied, cheated, stealed, whatever. Wasn't the best husband to my wife, right? And then I go down a road of losing everything beginning of last year, and being like, well, I could either continue to act like none of this exists, right, and put up a fake face. So many people walk around with a fake face. Or I could take the moment to say, I'm going to actually rise up and try to fix the wound.
Right.
I feel like I fixed the wound, and it then showed itself in how I showed up in every other relationship since.
Yeah.
And it showed up in the fact that, losing weight and getting my body in the right spot, right? It's like one singular thing where I was like, I'm going to just put some energy in actually fixing this for once and for all. And it just, cleared the way for so many other things. I love the fact that how you operate, and you do that for other people day in and day out. What got you into doing that now? Back up a little bit on your story, connect us from NFL to where you are now.
Sure. As to keep it on one episode, I will move rapidly.
Yes, we'll build.
So NFL ends with a neck injury that you don't get to go play this game.
Yeah.
Cool. Spine surgeon. Hey, man, had you gone to a chiropractor, you would have had this problem to begin with. Me, make fun of the spine surgeon openly to him. Like, what the hell is a chiropractor? Didn't know anything about it. The guy looks at me in the eye. I still remember where we were, what the doctor was. We're in Los Angeles. We're in Kerlan Jobe Clinic. He looks at me and he's like, that's a very naive statement. He walks out of the room. This is my world-class neurosurgeon who, in the same waiting room with me, is Shaquille O'Neal. Mm-hmm. So I'm vetting the fact, and my agent set me up with him, this guy is seeing rock stars. I'm not saying rock star. So after the surgery, after the retirement, I was like, what is this thing that he said could have prevented this? I don't know what the hell a chiropractor was. So I go back home, I'm in Tempe, and I go over to Dr. Jeff Glass's office, which is an office that's a mile away from my house, and I walk in, and I'm like, pompous. I'm like, what do you do, and what is this? It's just like massage, and I'm looking around, people are working out, and they're getting stretched, and there's some massage, and they're talking about nutrition, and just this big health environment, if Sprouts became a gym/medical clinic, and everybody's having a good time, and I was like, what's going on here? And 2 weeks later, I was like, I'm going to go do this. I'd already graduated Iowa. I called the chiropractic school, and they told me what my requirements were. I still needed a couple science classes to fulfill, some anatomy, OChem, organic chem, stuff like that. So I'm like, okay, cool, I'm going to go do it. So within 2 weeks of being retired, I'm like, that's what we're going to do. Load my truck up, drive back to Iowa, because the big chiropractic school, Palmer's in Iowa, and start taking some more undergrad classes, even though I already had my degree, but just so I could get my prereqs to get in.
Yeah.
And knocked those out in under a year. Took a bunch of accelerated classes.
What year was this?
This would have been 98-ish, roughly. On there. 99, something like that. 98, 97, 98, 99, something like that. So I knocked that out, then go do 4 years of chiropractic school, which is the same hours as medical school. Graduate and come right back and start working for him.
Same guy.
Same dude. Yeah. And then 2 years into it, he's teaching me how to do it, teaching me how to do it. Yeah. And I took out $1 million loan, actually $1 million, and bought him out of that clinic. Had no idea
bought
how to
the practice from
bought
him.
the practice. Had no idea how to do it. But I was just like, this is what I'm going to do. Very offensive mindset. From there, vertically integrated a whole lot of things, brought in ortho and PT and pain, and then built other clinics, and then built a multitude of clinics, and then started building orthopedic clinics and got into surgery center space. And
How quickly did this all happen?
from 2001 until like my real exit out of medicine of being a provider would have been like 2017. So the better part of like 16 years, right? And seeing patients and being very entrepreneurial simultaneously. Very, very busy clinic. Like if I say I saw 100 people a day, like that's not like big numbers for your show people to listen to. Like go back and ask anybody. Like it was waiting lists outside. Anyway, I decide early on I was asked to be the medical director of P.F. Chang's Rock and Roll Marathon. And here in Arizona. And so I stood at the finish line and directed traffic. You go to the medical tent, you go get your medal, you go get some water, you get just triage.
Yeah.
And I was watching the look of their eyes when they finished, and I was like, that's what I'm missing in my life, is that like completion of a milestone. I didn't have any targets in front of me, right? I didn't have any like athletic targets. I didn't have any games in front of me. I didn't have a school target in front of me. I had business targets, but like that's just money. I was married, at the time, and I was like, I'm going to do a marathon because I see how excited they look, and that look in their eyes, they're coming down the finish line. Like, I want that. Like, I hungrily and selfishly wanted that. So I go online and I go down this rabbit hole of like, I want to do a marathon. And then I realized like, wait, I have like 8 hours to finish it. And I run the math. I'm like, I could walk that and finish it. Like, I know this is going to sound crazy. I'm like, that doesn't feel like it challenges me.
No, it doesn't bother. I'm not phased by that because you look at the speed, the pace. It's not that crazy.
So I'm like, whatever. I can walk. Anyway, within that little sphere of about 2 weeks, I decide what's right for me is this thing called Ironman. I'm going to do this triathlon
Much
thing
more challenging.
Called Ironman. I don't have a bike. Never been on a swim team.
Did you know how to ride a bike?
Well, I knew how to ride a bike, like a BMX. I never had 10 speed or anything like that. So I'm like, I sign up, and I'm like, I sign up for Ironman in Arizona, like later that year. And this is great proofing of what we talked about earlier. So I go online and I'm like, okay, Ironman training. It's showing me all these plans and programs and videos. And I go down these rabbit holes of YouTube of how to swim and the right posture and what bike to get. And I had so much content in my head. I go to the pool and I'm like, I'm just going to knock this out. I'm a world-class athlete. I'm probably going to win Ironman. I'm not going to, like, that's how my mind thinks. Dude, I got in the pool and swam from one side to the other. And I was like, I can't breathe. I got about probably halfway across and had to like walk the rest of it. I was like, I don't know how I'm going to swim 2.5 miles. I could doggy paddle, but like the freestyle with the breathing and all that, totally foreign. I watched all the videos, but it didn't translate to the actionable ability to do it. Kind of like what we talked about culture, right? So I go and find a coach, and I put in the work.
Swim coach.
And I go get a bike coach, and I do all that stuff, and I end up, finishing Ironmans. I won my division, which was Clydesdale. I got a big trophy, all this kind of stuff. I ended up doing about 50 triathlons over the haul of this.
From what year to what year?
This is my first Ironman was like 2005 maybe, give or take, 2006, ballpark of.
So.
My last one was in like 2017, right around there, give or take.
12 years.
I did a lot of them, like in short order, and then I go back into jiu-jitsu, and I go back to this, and I go back to that, and got my pilot's license, and then got into scuba diving, and then started rodeo, and anyway.
It's fascinating because it's like
I'm all over the place.
You bring that same, go just a little bit longer, but like you bring that. I mean, I see this with athletes a lot. It's probably been brought up to you. This is, probably common knowledge, but like a lot of athletes when they have to hang it up, when they go to the highest levels. I mean, obviously a lot of guys, they end in like high school. Like I ended out of high school pretty much. Tried to go college, but blew out my hammies and there was no chance for me. But for guys who end up going the college route and then going the pro route, the intensity and the competition just gets higher, and it's really, you really get into it even more. There's a major drop off in hole that is formed after you finish, and I see a lot of these guys who they find anything and everything they can to fill that hole,
Right.
to keep it going. And it seems like you brought that same level of intensity. You filled that hole with bringing that intensity to business and fitness challenges
Yeah.
to just drive you.
Same thing. It is your state of readiness. It is your culture. Like we call it character when it comes into like who we are as a person, kind of culture with a group. But it's the same thing. Like who are you when nobody's watching? Like who are you when the lights are off, when the curtains are pulled back? Like who are you? Like show me who you are. Don't tell me. If you have to tell me, I don't believe you. But so that Ironman turns into I find this program. So now I've satisfied Ironman, and they're like, that's the hardest thing that a civilian can do. And I'm like, civilian? What does that mean? They're like, well, there's these paramilitary things called SEAL Fit, and it's Navy SEAL inspired Hell Week. And I was like, sign me up, right? And it's fortuitous how I got to it and whatever. And I go and do that. And the hardest thing, I've lost 23 pounds in like 2 days, and it was absurd.
It's ridiculous.
Ridiculous. And anyway, so I ended up loving it. And
of course you did.
And end up begging them to let me, a bunch of SEALs, hang around and just be part of the group, because I witnessed in that group, it's the same group. The NFL locker room and the SEAL teams are same people, same group. Some pull triggers and some throw footballs. Like but same mentality, same type of tip of the spear, same type of personalities.
Yeah.
And I found like a tribe within that.
Yeah.
And I started spending a lot of time there, and I ended up running, about 27 of those Hell Week programs as like one of the senior
27
cadres. So when I say like, hey, I've done a lot of coaching, I haven't done a little bit, I've done a lot.
You never do anything halfway, do you?
I'm either I'm off the cliff or I'm not, right? So from that, I go fast forward a couple of years. I look up one day and realize in my medical clinics and businesses, like I've set up my systems so well that if I go to work or don't go to work today, it doesn't make a difference, because everybody's doing what they need to do. And now I'm just kind of like
in coast mode.
I'm in coasting.
You can automate. You've automated everything.
I automated everything. And so it's like, well, I don't want to do this anymore. My wife is like, please don't do this to me again. I'm like, I have to. So I say, I'm not doing this anymore. Exit. And I say, I'm going to go into coaching, which is like what I do now. But my first client was American Addiction Centers, publicly traded company. And they said, we're having a toxicity problem, and you're a great leader. Will you come in and fix that? I said, let's go talk. During the talk, they're like, can you just be the CEO of the company? I'm like,
this is what got you into the mental.
I said, I don't know anything about behavioral health, mental health. And we'll save that whole story for another podcast because it's very long. But
go into more depth on that. Yeah.
Ultimately, that's what got me into it. And then now that I've learned the behavioral health and the physical health, and I've done the pro athlete, and I've done the CEO, and I've done the doctor, it's like I feel like I have a lot. So I most recently walked away from all of the medical and the hospital stuff and said, I just want to go change lives the way that I want to do it, and not through insurance companies, but through because those become transactional.
Very transactional.
You pay me for this treatment, I fix that problem. True relationships. And I found that my real passion point was working with other leaders that were already established leaders. And I find that most commonly in businesses. Let me talk to business owners and business leaders, because I've had staff of 500, but my book of business was $150 million. Like, I understand the pressures they're going through. And I pull from that all of the different strengths of my life and created a framework. And that's so I get to wake up and do that all day, and I love it. I'm living passion right now. And maybe in 10 years I'll get bored of it and I'll be like, I want to go be an astronaut. I don't know. We'll figure it out then. But this is where we're at today.
Where do you find your passion? This one, and then one last question. Where do you find more of the passion in the business right now? The actual running of the business, or just the actual coaching one-on-one with the clients?
I like others' success, and that may sound weird. I liked my success at finishing Ironman. If given the option right now, not for the fear of work. I mean, I've done the English Channel, I've done Alcatraz, I've done all of it. I would rather coach somebody that's never done this and watch the transformation and be a part of their joy journey. Because I've kind of been to the highest mountains that I think I can go to physically, without saying your potentiality of death is now a couple percentage points if you try that. Yeah, I'm going to swim to Hawaii. Well, you're probably going to die. That's where we're at with this. So
several hundred miles, several thousand miles, right?
But
Yeah.
bringing people along and watching the epiphany cycles happens like gives me like a soul satiety. So that's what I chase now. I chase my soul being fulfilled by witnessing joy in others, and I have a unique ability to bring that to leaders and say, hey, for 30 years I've done it this way. And I've been through these problems, so let's work together. I train the leaders because they have to get bought in first. Then I kind of like think of it like a strength coach. I coach the team. I give it back to the leaders, train the trainer program, and they're off and running, and we're good. And I'm on to the next group.
I love it.
Yeah.
Last question we always ask everybody is, what is something you want to highlight? Person, place, thing, idea. I know we've brought up so many ideas and people and places, but what's something you want to highlight?
Well, right now, I'm still developing my book of business on my 4XF project. And that's the 4 exponential factors that create success. And that's from my life's work and my life's architecture and framework of how I do what I do carried over into the business of developing those people. And it's not for businesses that are failing. It's for businesses that are doing well. And they're like, how do I get to the next level? And it's not through like the smoke and mirrors, because there's no shortage of smoke or in place of substance. But it's like, hey, been there and done it. Like, let me take that burden off your plate. Yeah. Because as a business owner, if you're not looking forward and strategizing, if you're focused on coaching your kids, then you're a high school coach. You're splitting duties. The NFL, they just focus on winning games. NFL coach doesn't show up in the weight room. It's people that does that, right? Yeah. So what would it leave with for business owners, entrepreneurs, people that manage teams, from a team of 10 to a team of 10,000? Like it's the same scale, same framework. I still have holes in my schedule that I want to fill with the right people. So I want to get in conversations. I want conversations of business owners to see, like, are we a good fit? Like I had a conversation with a guy yesterday. And I could have got him to give me money, but it was like, my fit and your problem don't align. And he was like, that was the most honest sales conversation I've ever been in. And I was like, I'm not turning you down. I'm just saying, like, it's just if I fix broken legs, you came to me with an elbow problem. Like, that's a great problem. I'm going to refer you. So I sent him on to somebody else. But I do what I do that I do very, very well at. And, I'd love the opportunity to speak to people that are looking for more of that.
I love it. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show. It's amazing. I always love being just in your presence, Derek.
I have a feeling we're going to do this a couple times.
I think we probably got a few.
I think we got some stories to go into.
I think this is going to be like Rocky with...
yeah. There's going to be sequels.
A lot of sequels. All right.